What happened to you on the best day of your life? Hearing the girl I liked agreeing to be my girlfriend. It didn't work out, but I still remember I was the happiest dude alive, on top of the freaking world. Before that I was so self-conscious, but knowing that someone liked me enough to want to spend time with me in a relationship made me the happiest man, and in general just confident with myself. Thanks to that, though the relationship didn't end well, I don't worry about self-esteem issues anymore. In the morning, I got up, put on a suit and then passed the oral exam for my dissertation defense, something I had been working on for 5 years. In the afternoon, I taught classes, no big thing. In the evening, I celebrated my birthday with my girlfriend who I then proposed to. Figured I might as well do it all at once. There was also pecan pie involved. On a scuba diving holiday in Egypt when we spotted dolphins. We went out to snorkel with them, about 10, and one just swam round me over and over again. The day I was hanging out with my crush, we were both horrendous at giving signals, so it was a little slow. Eventually I grabbed her hand while we were walking and she grabbed back. The smile on her face was the greatest thing I have ever seen. Got a standing ovation. I had performed Beethoven's first concerto as a senior in high school, with the orchestra accompanying me, so it was just me, with them backing me up. I actually didn't do too bad, and was proud when I played the last chord, and everyone gave me a much longer ovation than I had planned for. I started bowing in ways from other countries just to keep them entertained because I didn't know what to do. LOL. Had my dad in tears, and just watching all those hundreds of people standing there, appreciating what I had done, I felt like a superhero. Becoming a dad after 6 years and 3 awful miscarriages. My daughter will never fully understand how much we cherish her, but it's okay with me. She will also never discover the oath I made over her crib to always do my best to keep her happy, no matter what her life choices will be. As long as I remember these things, I don't care if she appreciates it. My husband and I are just now getting the courage to try again after our 3rd loss. From someone who's walking down the road you've been down, I just wanted to say congratulations. Your story gives me much needed hope. Thank you. 2 days ago I sold my business for $2.50 million. Was 10 years of work to get it to that point, and now I'm starting a new business that I expect will be much bigger. I'm now officially a millionaire at age 28. This also allows me to finally move to another city to live with my boyfriend full time. I've been flying back and forth for almost 2 years to see him, and although I did live out there for 6 months at one point, this'll be my first time really moving in with someone long term. The day itself was kinda surreal. Had to say farewell to the staff that we've worked with for many years. We gave everyone $2,000 for each year they'd worked for as personal gifts so they don't pay tax on it, which I think was well received. Chose to go to a dive bar just to get out of the house. Met a cute guy. Had an amazing one-night stand but never exchanged numbers. 2 days later, the plumber is fixing the water heater. Go to see if plumber needs anything. Guy I slept with works for my plumber. Too awkward to exchange numbers then and there. Job is complete and guy leaves with plumber. Still no number. Later that night, find what I think is a parking ticket on my windshield. Guy came back and left his name and number on my car. It's been 7 years. We're married, have 2 daughters and a son on the way. Dang, he laid the pipe before he even needed to. This guy knows what he's doing. Ate my favorite breakfast, scrambled eggs. Went to park with girlfriend. Got first kiss. Mum won a lotto scratcher, $20,000. Had favorite lunch, chili dogs. Got a new dog. Had favorite dinner, burritos. Sounds like the next day was probably the worst day of your life after the chili dogs and burritos. Woke up, found out I failed to get into my first or second choice unis. Cried. Went into clearing. Got an offer from Liverpool University. The beginning of my new life. The best day of my life hasn't happened yet. I thought it had, but now I get another one. In 4 days I go into hospital to have what's known as an ablation to remove some tissue within my aortic valve in my heart. I have a condition called supraventricular tachycardia, SVT, that I have lived with all my life. I'm almost 20. The condition causes my heart to beat very fast for a reason other than exercise, high fever, or stress. As a child I was never allowed to play intensive sport like Australian rules football or rugby. I always envied the kids that can run all day, and yet here I am stuck sitting on the sideline due to my issue. When I was 13 my condition reached a point where the doctors said that I had to get an ablation because my condition was getting too risky for my health. When this procedure was done I was one of the first to get it done and the youngest. The level of risk was enormous and it only had about 10% success rate. As I was still growing my heart wasn't fully developed and we knew that the problem might come back. Luckily for me it went well. That moment I woke up from the procedure was amazing and I knew that I could go and enjoy sport with all my friends. I was the happiest kid. During the last couple of years my condition has come back and it affected a large part of my senior year in high school. The last year has been tough as my condition takes a toll on my body as well as my mind. A few weeks ago I went to my cardiologist and he said that I needed to get an ablation done quickly so I can have a healthy heart again. I can't wait to finally be able to play sport again and live life to the fullest again. In 4 days I will have the happiest day of my life. The happiest I remember being was when our plane landed coming home from Iraq into Germany. Trees have never looked so green. It was euphoric. In high school I dated this girl for almost 3 years. She always had a way of making me feel like I barely had her, that at any moment I could lose her. For half the time we were together, we weren't even officially together. One day, at the end of a summer vacation during which we had fallen even more madly in love, we decided to go get a hotel room and just hang out, among other things, for a night. That night she finally told me what I had been waiting to hear forever. Basically she said some things which ended up with me feeling that I finally had her. Stuff including I'm yours and other promises and stuff like that. I had her as my loving girlfriend, and finally I could break down the walls I had built up and trust her. We had a future together. She promised me. This was all I had ever wanted to hear. I still remember looking into her eyes as she said all this to me while laying on my chest. I will never forget the look in her eyes. That was the best day of my life. Woke up in a tent with the girl I was in love with. Had a quick Irish breakfast and took a bus up to the cliffs of Moher. Walked around a bit and watched thousands of birds flying around the cliffs. Decided not to take the bus home and to walk down through the fields. I put a flower in my hair and I have a couple pictures she took me bounding down the green Irish hillside. Looking back, we easily could have died. There were cow pens all over the place and the occasional bull pen. We often had to make the choice of skirting some pretty flimsy cliffs or going through fields of horned cows or even bulls. We made it down and people were surfing at the bottom. Cleaned up at the campsite and went on to a pub for Guinness and lamb stew. Guitar player saw me watching his hands and figured I could play guitar and gave it over for me to play for the pub. Later, a traditional Irish band with Ellen pipes and a fiddle and guitar and the kind of drum I don't remember the name of. My love and I took a moonlit walk out by the ocean, or bay, whatever it was. It started pouring. We ran back to our tent and fricked like rabbits. Best day of my life, so far. To be 22 and backpacking around Europe again. I was in the Virgin Islands. I met a girl. We ate lobster, drank pina coladas. At sunset, we made love like sea otters. That was a pretty good day. I wish I could live that day over, and over, and over. I was 13, walking my dog before school. My dad told me to change into old clothes and forget about school. It was a lovely Irish summer Friday at 25°C. The warmth was perfect and we drove to our newly bought holiday house to work in the garden which had been abandoned for 7 years. We spent the whole day cutting ivy and grass, discovering rusty junk hidden under all the growth. Drank Pepsi Max, had ice cream and took me for a pub lunch at the local water hole. It was such a beautiful day by the sea. Meeting J.K. Rowling, getting to tell her how much she changed my life, and getting away with 3 signed books instead of 2. I was at the concert of my favorite band at the time. I got kicked in the face by my idol while he was crowd surfing. I got kneed in the tit in the mosh pit. I ripped my idol's shirt off. I later got to meet him and he apologized for kicking me and told he liked my face. I got to shake his hand too, which was great. Thinking about makes me tear up. Best day ever. It isn't just one day, but since I was about 8 or so, my number one life goal was getting to see the Galapagos Islands. I've been a big biology nerd since I was a little kid. I figured this would happen maybe sometime in my 30s or 40s. But my sophomore year of college, my university offered a trip to Ecuador for 3 weeks. The only problem was that I needed the $1,000 down payment and like 4 days. Cashed in some savings bonds I was given for my first birthday. Took out student loans for the rest. So I at least will finally pay off the trip in my 30s or 40s. Spent the most amazing 3 weeks of my life laying on beaches, hiking dormant volcanoes, and snorkeling the Galapagos, exploring cities and villages on the mainland, laying in a hammock at the top of a cloud forest peak in the Andes, or camping on riverbanks in the Amazon rainforest. I don't know which one day was the best, but it's somewhere in there. I had just graduated from college, first in my family to do so, a few weeks prior, and had landed a summer job that let me teach high school students at Stanford. I was going to be going to law school the next year, and I had recently gotten a much better test score. I had some great offers, but the one school I really wanted to go to, the school my father worked as a janitor for when he was my age, had flat out rejected me earlier in the cycle. I had sent them an email asking for reconsideration when I missed a call because I was in the middle of a lecture. I got a voicemail from an admissions officer from the school asking me to call back. I flipped out and ran out of the building to call. Because of the time difference, their office was about to close. I called and the receptionist said he was out, was about to transfer me to his voicemail. Oh well. I had to wait until tomorrow to see if my life would change forever, and then suddenly came back on and said he has just come back in. I was connected, and was told I had been accepted. There I was, standing in the middle of the most beautiful campus I've ever seen, working the coolest summer job I could think of, and had just been accepted to my dream school. I was going to be able to walk the halls, as a student, that my father once mopped. I now have my rejection letter and acceptance letter framed next to each other on my wall. Ate mushrooms and contemplated life on a beach on the Sea of Cortez. Made a fire at night. Told stories and shared drinks with interesting strangers. Gazed upon a glorious starfield and fell asleep to the sound of the ocean. Got hit by a car while riding my bicycle. Wasn't wearing a helmet. Not even a shirt for frick's sake. Broke my collarbone. Ripped some flesh off my back. Oh, I also got paid $80K for pain and suffering. Been traveling the frick out of the world since. That was the very precipice of my life so far. Also, that half second I had when I saw the car coming and knew I was going to be hit really cleared my mind. I absolutely thought I was going to die. I mean, I was going 20 miles per hour and the car was doing 30 miles per hour and we hit nearly straight on. So in that moment before impact, everything became very clear. I realized how crappily I had been living and how many people I had been a pompous cockroach of a man to. All in all, the best day of my life. This sounds bizarre, but the first day that popped into my head when I read the question really isn't remarkable at all. It was a moment, not even a day. For some weird reason, that moment made me feel so incredibly happy, euphoric even. What happened? Me and my dad were driving home from a shopping trip. He had bought me a burger, and it was raining really hard. In the car, I ate the burger and watched the rain. That song A Pocket Full of Sunshine by Natasha Bedingfield was playing on the radio. It all combined with whatever my dad was saying to me to make me feel really, really happy. I suspect my burger had an added ingredient to it. Oh, and I liked the movie Easy A even better because they used that song that made me so happy. Seriously though, when I think of best days, they all sound really random and ridiculously mundane. The days I spent with my grandma. I think of her as my grandma, even though she was actually my grandma's sister. Building puzzles and drinking tea. Getting out of bed to watch the train go by at midnight when I was a kid at our annual holiday spot. Watching a Phantom of the Opera performance as a kid with my family. The day I came home from a school camp I hated to find a new book I'd wanted for weeks waiting on my pillow. Stuff like that. I went on holiday about 2 years ago, and as a teenage boy I would be sunbathing and checking out some girls. This particular girl stood out to me. She looked at me too, and I looked at her through my sunglasses. Upon further inspection of said sunglasses I realized you could see my eyes through them. so she knew I was looking. Anyway, went out on a boat trip one day and came back to the pool and she was there with her family. I was there alone and was kinda drunk, aiming to muster up the courage to speak to her. When I was about to, she was walking toward me, said hello in her glow 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 in. We first went for cocktails, then I took her for a meal. After eating we wandered the town and found romantic spots in the sunlight to kiss and make it even more perfect. We walked back to our complex hand in hand and her parents were wondering why she took so long and I just explained that they needn't have worried. We parted our ways that day and she asked to see me in the morning, to which I obviously said yes. The 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 yes. I was touched and she was amazing. But unfortunately the time came when we had to depart as she was going back to her country. I walked with her and her family to the boat they were boarding. We kissed, hugged. I wrote her a note in English and she wrote me a note in her language. Saying goodbye was horrible. She cried and it was emotional. I got back to where me and my family were staying and translated the note. It read, I will never forget you, but I will always love you. I still have the note and the necklace. And I believe that was the best day of my life. The first day after I moved out of my parents' house, I woke up and started putting my pants on and thought, you know what, frick that crap. I'm eating my Fruit Loops in the goddamn nude. Cause this is my house. My house. I strolled into the kitchen, butt mother frickin' naked, and poured myself a bowl. I sat in front of the TV and watched 4 episodes of Family Guy. I thought to myself, I can dig this crap. I then remained naked for the whole day, just eating food and watching cartoons. That crap was frickin' glorious. Well, I now know what I am doing day 1 in my new house. I was abroad in Vietnam and we were spending a few days in the city of Hoi An. It was a dreary, misty day but we didn't want to waste it. A bunch of us rented rickety bikes, pedaled through the fields and made our way to the beach where we swam in the South China Sea and had a ball. It may have been the most carefree moment I can remember. I came out to my sister and cried like a small child while she said, "You'll be my brother forever and always. I will always love you." I discovered music. I used to only listen to the Beatles or whatever was on the radio, and then I found a cassette player. At the age of about 7, I would spend all day listening to the same Grateful Dead, Pete Seeger, Johnny Cash, Led Zeppelin, and Roy Orbison cassettes. Then I got an iPod. I now play 14 instruments. I'm in the process of releasing an album. My music library has gotten big enough that I can't count. I have a stereo system that plays CDs, vinyl, cassettes, and hooks up to my computer. None of this would have happened without that little Sony cassette player and a handful of cassettes. Left my hotel in Bishop, California, drove through Yosemite while stopping to sit by a river in a meadow, saw some sequoias, and drove on to San Francisco. I'd wanted to go there since I could drive and I finally made it happen. I bench pressed 385, my all-time max, and got a nuke in Modern Warfare 2 in the same day. In celebration, I proceeded to consume beer and Taco Bell until I passed out. You sound like a real bro. I, unknowingly, swam in the ocean for a while next to a very large shark, got drunk while playing cricket on the beach, got in drunken, joking argument with a well-respected professor about whose side B a certain student was. I was a student also. Fed a wild kangaroo a piece of bread hanging out of my mouth. Hooked up with the side B girl, who I thought I had absolutely no chance with. Slept the night on a pretty well-isolated beach on an Australian night. Being handed my brand new baby daughter and realizing this person belongs to me. You have no idea who they are but you feel like you should kiss them immediately because hey, it's your kid. It's a bizarre feeling. Kissing your baby for the first time. They're literally a complete stranger to everyone on the planet, even you, and you've been waiting to meet them all this time. Here's an actual human being who just came into the world. No one knows them. They know no one. And they are yours. You can probably imagine buying a new car or a new house and how you would feel that first day they hand you the keys and you know it's yours. Now imagine being handed a new person. It's the most surreal, amazing experience I've ever had. Traveling around Europe in 2010. Happened to be in Amsterdam to see the Netherlands beat Brazil to go into semis, and later that day went to a Faithless concert. Everyone in the city and at the concert just seemed to be on a buzz. Never forget it. The mayor stopped by my grandparents' house for a little while. After he left, my grandpa got my husband drunk on moonshine. Then we all ate KFC. Best wedding ever. Opened a birthday present and saw that my parents bought me Pokemon Red and Blue. Pokemon will always have a place somewhere in my brain where memory is stored. Graduation day for high school. I barely skated through high school and the ceremony was kind of overwhelming. Before it started they had us waiting in a big hallway. We were in a coliseum, and one of the football players out of the blue started the school chant. Nobody had school spirit, but I don't think I've ever heard a class chant that loud or proudly. I had freaking chills. Ceremony gets on and the valedictorian gives an amazing speech that gave me chills once again. Everything happens. Names are called, hands are shaken, diplomas gotten, etc. The best part was walking out. Imagine 5,000 people cheering for you as you shuffle your way out of one of the best events of your life. I felt like a freaking rock star. The day I finished rehab, opiates, got the keys to my new and first apartment and went to my first class at the university. It was 1993. I had come back from my first year in college. I'd met a girl a week before. She'd gone to my high school, but we hadn't gotten to know each other. The attraction between us was immediate and powerful. A group of us met up in Chicago for a Grateful Dead concert, took in all the sights and stayed up all night. Every glance, thought, and touch fell into its perfect spot. Heads fuzzy from a night of partying. We drove back up from the city to the suburbs and stopped at the beach. The sun was so bright, I could barely see. As we lay together on the beach, the voices of my friends died away and I watched her stand and walk down the beach. Occasionally she would bend down to inspect a rock or a shell. I watched the waves lap at her feet. There have been a few moments of clarity in my life. Points where the world seemed to pivot around a moment, and nothing would ever be the same again. This was one. On a spring day when I was in 10th grade, a squirrel bit into a power line, so school was cancelled at like 10 AM on a Friday. Maybe 10 friends all met up at a friend's house and we ate pizza and just hung out and laughed for most of the day. That night was an MXPX concert at this theater a town over and a ton of friends went. I didn't know the band too well, but it was definitely one of the best concerts I've ever been to. No seats, just 300 people all dancing together in front of the stage. Such a positive feeling at it. So amazing weather. School cancelled. Hanging out with friends, eating pizza. Awesome concert. And we were all 16 at the time, so just getting our licenses. Having that newfound feeling of openness and potential. It was a good day. With Reddit's help, raised nearly $50,000 for my then girlfriend's, now fiancé, nephew who needed a bone marrow transplant. His family couldn't afford it themselves. He got the transplant at Duke almost exactly 1 year ago. Now he's doing super well and the family can afford to keep living in their house. It was a damned good day for all involved. Got fired from my job illegally 3 days before. Decided that jobs were for suckers and entered an online poker tournament and won $12,000. Dropped acid, met the cast of The Hangover, may have not really happened, then went on a huge adventure looking for blood with my best friend and a gangster on a sunny day. Never felt so much joy in my life. My best day is kind of bittersweet. I got rejected by a girl, but my friends and sister gave me a talk and basically cheered me up by saying how they will always be there for me. I realized who were my real friends, and after that, I lost feelings for her. I felt great. Got a new gaming computer. Woke up early that day eager for that UPS delivery. Friend came over because he was just as excited as me. UPS finally arrived. Had trouble setting computer up. Graphics card didn't work. Spent day installing updates and walking around town buying candy and soda. Computer still wouldn't work right. Technically a crappy day, but looking back at it, it was the start of my life as a PC gamer. Never forget the 1st of July, 2011. The day you lost your life. My band won a battle of the bands. Furthermore, one of the songs we played that night, which I composed, started a mosh pit. My music got about 100-200 people to feel excited enough that they should mosh. Personally, I love moshing because the bands get me hyped enough to charge in and release a ton of energy. To be able to have that effect on others was simply amazing. Plus at the end of the night everyone in the bar was chanting the name of our band to win. It was stellar. Months of practice and arguing and lugging gear around all came to a head in a 40-minute show that I'll never again be able to experience. I know it was just a silly battle of the bands, but it was an amazing experience for me. I felt like an actual rock star for one night. I got my butt kicked. I had a huge black eye, bruised ribs, cuts and scratches all over my face, burns on the knees and elbows, a freshly cauliflowered ear and a big, stupid grin. I didn't win, but I became an All-American and left with an invitation from a coach. The coach eventually gave me a scholarship at an awesome university. I spent the next 5 years chasing my dream and picking up an education along the way. The university gave me a diploma, then decided to start paying me for all the cool skills I had learned. I now own my own home. I have a cool job, dog, friends. I have a pretty dang good life, and it started on that day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.